My name's Bryan. I live in Rotorua. 13 years ago I had a heart attack unexpectedly, and then 18 months later I was very fortunate to have a heart transplant, and I'm very, very grateful to the family for that gift of life. Well, prior to my heart attack in June 2004, I thought I was a normal, healthy person who was involved in a lot of sport from when I was 5 years old. Last thing I ever dreamt of was a heart attack. At the age of probably 7, 8, I started roller skating, became a speed skater, and skated right through juvenile, junior, intermediate and senior grades, and won New Zealand speed titles right through those grades, and a couple of New Zealand records. I also followed my father's footsteps in playing field hockey, and played field hockey for Manawatu Colts, and then after shifting to Taranaki, New Plymouth, I played for Taranaki rep hockey team. Probably at the age of about 10, 12, I started playing roller hockey and went up through junior into senior grade, and played for teams that won New Zealand roller hockey titles, and then I became a New Zealand roller hockey representative. After shifting to Rotorua, I became involved in mountain biking socially, and used to go up and enjoy the redwoods and keep myself fit, or I thought fit, at the gym. And then in June 2004, my partner at the time, she was going to Vanuatu for a holiday with her daughter. I took them to Auckland. I went to a friend's place who was also New Zealand roller hockey rep, stayed with him a Saturday night. We went out for dinner, met another one of our roller skating colleagues from Tiara, and had lunch with them, and they were going back to Tiara to drop them off, and went inside, and before I was ready to leave I just said, I'll go and use your toilet. So I went into the toilet, and I was sitting there, and for no reason at all I just started getting lightheaded. The room started spinning, and I thought, God, what's going on here? So I got up and walked out in the lounge and just collapsed on the lounge floor Sunday afternoon, Tiara. So they had to shock me 4 times to bring me back, and I had a triple bypass and didn't respond to treatment. They reviewed the situation in 24 hours because I wasn't responding, and thank goodness for me they made the right decision to, well, I don't know whether it was that or me having that will and determination to win, that I subconsciously knew of this, and so I fought it all the way. So they didn't turn the machine off and I survived, but I didn't really have any quality of life. My heart was so badly damaged. Then I came back to Rotorua, and I went to the Rotorua Hospital. They have a cardiac rehab class there, which I went to, and I think I only lasted about 3 weeks, and I just couldn't do any more. And I'd gone from probably 70 something kg down to 56 kg, so I wasn't very mobile. And so this went on. Then I started developing ascites, and I used to go up to Rotorua Hospital probably every 10, 12 days and have an ultrasound, and they put a drain in, and they would drain anything from 4, 6, 8 litres, the most they ever drained out of me, and that would take probably 12 hours, and then I'd be sent home, and I knew that I had 10 to 12 days of reasonable life before it built up and I was so uncomfortable again. So this went on for like 12 months. During that period we decided, we'd been together 15 years, so just to legalise things and that, because Carolyn didn't know what her legal rights and that were, so we decided we would get married, and that was going to be 4 days before my birthday. It was going to be my 60th birthday, and the consensus was that I wasn't going to be here for my 61st birthday. We decided we'd go to Australia for a holiday, so we went to Auckland, and on the way to Auckland we stopped for a drink. I got out of the car and collapsed, and so they gave me a drink and that and got me back in the car. We drove through to Auckland, so I ended up in Middlemore Hospital, and they checked me out and found I had an overload of potassium, and that was caused by eating bananas, my favourite fruit. So they got me stabilised, and then she had mentioned to them that I was waiting to go to Auckland to Green Lane to have an assessment for a transplant. And so they arranged that when I left Middlemore, we went over to Green Lane, and then on the Friday they rang and said yes, I was on the list for a transplant. So they tell you to just have a bag packed with, you don't need much. So I think it was about 3 weeks after that assessment that we got a phone call and to get up to Auckland as quick as we could. So we jumped in the car and we got up to Auckland something like about midnight, I think it was. And we went down the corridor, and I can remember looking at the walls and the ceiling in the corridor thinking, well, this might be the last thing that I'm ever going to see. So on the bed, and Carolyn said to them, is this really happening? And they said, yes, if you don't want it, you can say no. And I said, well, I haven't got a choice, you know, I'm going to die if I don't have it. If I do have it and die, well, I haven't lost anything. If I do have it and it's successful, well, I've got a life. Part of the assessment program is in the interview, they ask you what you hope to achieve from your transplant. And my answer to that was that I would like to get back and be able to compete in sport again. And they thought, well, that was a good attitude, because the worst thing you can do is sit around and feel sorry for yourself. A lot of it is a mental approach. You've got to get your head around it, that you're not sick anymore. It wasn't easy, it was hard work. I was so unfit and so skinny and no muscle and that, but I started off doing it slowly. The cardiologist said, well, you know, what was I doing? And I said, I've set myself a goal. And she said, what's that, Bryan? And I said, I'd like to go to Wanganui in February for the New Zealand Masters Games. Went to Wanganui, I won 3 gold medals and a bronze medal in the skating and mountain biking. So she was very proud of me when I took the medals up to Auckland and showed them. From then on, I was probably mountain biking 3 or 4 times a week and going to the gym a couple of times a week, and I still do. Since then I've been to, I think it's 4 New Zealand Masters Games, 5 Australian Transplant Games and 2 World Transplant Games. I did win in 2007, I got 2 bronze medals at the World Transplant Games, but in the Australian Transplant Games and the New Zealand Masters Games, I've collected a total of about 53 medals. The effect that the heart problems that I had in the rehab would have been very stressful for my wife and family, both her family and mine, because we didn't know what the outcome was going to be. No, I think it was very stressful for them, and I'm very fortunate to have a wife that's stood behind me and given me all the support, you know, and family through those years. Well, there's always something that you can do, isn't it? I think, you know, even if you're sick, you can still try and do things, even if it's just sitting there moving your legs or moving your arms or something to keep the body moving. Like you can go walking, you can go aqua jogging, you could, if you're physically capable, you can play golf, you can play 10-pin bowling. There's so many activities out there. The groups, you can go dancing or anything like that. It takes your mind off, it gives you something to do, something to look forward to doing, and it's certainly not going to do you any harm. I adjusted quite easily, I feel, to the mental part of it and psychological part of it. Some people have a problem with that. And that is the big part of it, getting your head around it, that you're going to get better.